Welcome to the PinLeader Podcast, where strategic leaders get straight to the topics, strengthening our awareness and sharpening our minds. The PinLeader Podcast is produced by Roar, a production division of Mays & Associates Ltd. Find out more at www.maysassociatesltd.com. Now here is your award-winning host, Dr. Shanda Gore.
And welcome to the PinLeader Podcast. Today we're going to be talking about developing AI's future leaders. And I am glad to have with me, and welcome to the show, two leading researchers and professors from Bowling Green State University, which is actually the first university in the nation to offer AI plus X bachelor's degree. The program explores interdisciplinary applications of artificial intelligence across various fields. The first guest is Dr. Jake Lee. He's one of the leaders of the program, serving as the chair of the Department of Computer Science. As an educator, a researcher, Dr. Lee teaches courses at both undergraduate and graduate levels while conducting a cutting-edge research in several key areas: visualization, pattern recognition, computer vision, high-performance computing, and machine learning and deep learning algorithms. His work focuses on complex computational problems that require advanced algorithmic solutions and interdisciplinary approaches. Dr. Lee earned his Bachelor of Engineering degree in electronics and electrical engineering. He completed his Master of Science degree in computer science at the University of Alabama in Huntsville, followed by a doctorate of philosophy and computer science from the same institution. I also have with me today Dr. Cheryl Bracken, who is the director of the School of Media and Communication at Bowling Green State University. She is a scholar administrator whose research focuses on an individual's psychological and physiological processing of media content and form. Much of her work has focused on the role of telepresence in popular media and more recently, binge watching. She has published 3 academic books, numerous peer-reviewed articles. Dr. Bracken earned her Bachelor of Arts in Broadcasting from SUNY Buffalo State University and both her master's and PhD in Mass Media and Communication from Temple University. So without further ado, welcome.
Thank you,
Hi, how are
Shanda.
you?
Excellent. I'm so glad to have you on the show. I'm going to get started, and I'm going to start with you, Dr. Lee, for you to talk about your perspective on what industries are being transformed the most rapidly by AI right now, because I know you're coming from a computer science component, but could you talk to that?
Yes. Well, first of all, thank you for inviting me to the show. In terms of the industry, I think, one of the big place where it's impacted or transformed by the advances in AI is the IT. But outside that, I think other fields, if I can think of, are the healthcare and then probably the education. I think they are going some of the most rapid and the meaningful transformation these days. For example, in healthcare, the AI is a system with diagnostics or predicting patient outcomes and personalizing treatments based on the vast data set they have the doctors look at. In education, we are also seeing AI-driven tutoring system and adaptive learning platforms that adjust to each student's need. I think these are the key things where these industries are the people focused, and when the AI helps them, it doesn't just save time. I think it actually changes lives. So I think these are I will consider the industry that are being transformed most rapidly these days.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. Dr. Bracken, would you agree with that? Any other industries?
Absolutely, I would agree with that. And I also think Dr. Lee talked about education, and certainly we're seeing the impact of AI in real time here in higher ed, both in terms of faculty learning how to work with AI and teach AI and ethical uses of AI, but also students' understanding of what AI is and where it's appropriate to use it. And I think so education is one of absolutely the biggest places we're seeing this. And I would also say information generation, whether it's news or public relations or entertainment creation. We're seeing AI start to transform that and extend people's creativity, but also raise concerns about what is being reported, what is being fact-checked.
Mm-hmm. Well, I have noticed that, again, I'm a proud Bowling Green grad, and I remember back many, many moons ago, it was a discussion where computer science was really separate from the media and the communication side, but you are striving here to bring both worlds together. Can you talk about what that means from emerging markets for jobs and how, again, the career paths may be different now through these AI advancements. Dr. Lee?
I think that's actually where excitement is coming from, I guess, at least personally. I think we are seeing entirely new roles in careers that are being formed that didn't exist, a few years ago. Things like AI architect or prompt engineers or human and AI interaction designer, and maybe data governance specialist. Even in the traditional roles, I think the AI is creating a hybrid careers. For example, I was actually talking with a teacher about the AI recently, high school teachers. If we can imagine a high school teacher who can design personalized AI tutoring models, for their, students with all various backgrounds, those are relatively, I won't say hybrid career. Imagine like a business analyst who also knows the machine learning so that they can analyze their business data really efficient way and an effective way. In terms of this career path, I think one thing that I am seeing is that the line between disciplines are more like a blurring, which means the student needs both the technical understanding and then domain knowledge, outside the AI, and then leadership skills to define their own careers.
Mm-hmm.
So we are, I think, at a very exciting moment where the careers that we didn't think about in the past are now being created, whether as a new form or as a hybrid form. I think those are what's happening these days.
Mm-hmm. Dr. Bracken, that goes right to those jobs of tomorrow because you're preparing the students and you're responsible for, again, a department that has made a number of changes with media and communication. How can this program really prepare students for jobs that we may not even know about right now?
I think to extend what Dr. Lee talked about and to more directly answer your question, I think it's really about giving them the core understanding. In this case, if we're talking about AI plus X of AI and whatever X is, right?
Mm-hmm.
But also, I think it's really important, and this is where I think media and communication disciplines play a role, is it's also about understanding the human components and who your user is, how you can customize AI to better address somebody's needs and the examples that Dr. Lee talked about. But I also think we're seeing really a return to a desire for communication skills, empathy, the ability to work with different types of people in different environments. And this has really been extended by, technology in terms of remote work and having to deal with people, who you're not in the office with or you may be in the office with. So this is about working with different people and then extending that into AI, and again anticipating how a user will use the end product or who your user is. And I think that ability to be empathetic and to perspective take is something that communication in particular really brings to the table.
Mm-hmm. You're talking about the human side of it. And I know in my book, I talk about that human element, which is purposefully why I put human in front of AI concerning leadership and really analyzing that. And when we're talking about organizational culture, preparing students to go into any culture that, they're desired, hopefully they match up with their values and just, that day-to-day work cycle. But how do you talk to your students to get them prepared for, again, when someone comes in and says, AI is all we're going to be using, or we have AI leaders that are actually setting up for, and you'll be part of that team, or those that are saying, we don't want anything to do with AI. How are you getting the students ready to manage different culture swings concerning AI?
Yeah. So, I think that is the challenge, like in any situation where you're anticipating something, but of course we don't have a crystal ball about what the future looks like. And so I think the best way to prepare students for multiple scenarios is to give them the opportunity really to experiment with AI in our classes and understand where the strengths are and where the weaknesses are. And a lot of our students in classes, and they're not, students generally don't like group work, but really group work and working with, different people where you're assigned to work with different people is also something that starts to build that level of experience and comfort, because that's, what they're likely going to experience in their career. And so, just giving them different opportunities to sort of role play or try those things out, I think is one of the best things that we can do as educators right now.
Mm-hmm. Dr. Lee, what are your thoughts?
Yes, I think, as Dr. Bracken said, that's really one of the biggest shifts that we are experiencing these days. I think for students, one of the key things they need to really learn how to do is they need to learn how to treat the AI almost not like a tool, but I would say it's almost like a team member.
Mm-hmm.
of their, whatever they're learning or in the future job market as well too. That is, they need to understand, the AI strength and weaknesses, and then how to communicate with it. That's the really important part. That means how to learn, interpret the result that AI is providing, and then identify any biases within the result, and then know when not to rely on the automation. I mean, that's one of the benefit of AI, but we really need to understand, or the student really need to understand, when is the time not to rely on the automation.
Mm-hmm.
I think in a way, the leaders plays an important role, or educator will also important role, because they will have to create an environment in the classroom or at the industry where the AI supports the team, but does not replace the human insight. So all the in higher ed, the learning with the AI is should be emphasizing the human and the learning aspect with the AI as a team member. I would say this is sort of a new kind of environment that we are in, where that blends the technical literacy with the emotional intelligence world of the AI.
Mm-hmm. Or, this goes to the ethical ramifications of AI with human interaction. What do you believe future leaders must do to navigate this ethical and human side of AI? Dr. Bracken?
I think, again, this is something that is evolving quickly, but I strongly believe that the number one thing is to center, as you were saying, humanness, and to consider whose data are you using and how will that data be used? What are the impacts of using particular data and interpretive outcomes? And again, where the weaknesses and strengths are of the AI that you're using. And I think we really need to continue to define what it means to put humans first in terms of AI. And I think we will start to see some interesting philosophical questions be asked and answered around what is it to be human, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
As tech is more and more introduced into our workplace, into education, down the line into more embodied and implanted tech. And so continuing to center and reposition and push for the human element, I think, is what we need to do. And we are all, from an educational standpoint, we have faculty that have already developed and are teaching classes around AI and ethics, where they spend a good amount of time talking about this type of question, but also questions around copyright and a lot of the sort of other controversies that swirl that we see around AI right now.
Mm-hmm. Dr. Lee, what are your thoughts on responsibility and ethics?
I think the leaders will need to have the empathy, so that which ensures the leaders consider the human impact of their decision, and also they need to have the critical thinking mindset, which will help them assess the AI systems, and then ask hard questions about the outcome, whether it's the ethical side or human side of the AI. They really need to think critically. And then humility reminds them, even with a powerful tool, they don't have all the answers, which
Mm-hmm.
means that they will have to admit, when they're wrong in terms of, using the AI in their decision making. And then probably will need to listen to diverse, perspective, and then consistently reevaluating how their technology affects the people, on every step of their work environment. I think they need to think about this carefully.
Mm-hmm. Well, with that being said, I know, and I've said this to a number of those that we go through with business coaching, is that it's really important to understand that you may plug in some information into AI and you may get some information out, but just like a good reporter, you really do need to check your sources. I can't emphasize enough to those that are listening is don't take, what you're reading for face value. Make sure you're getting not just one or two, but really a number of sources. But sometimes you ask it within 5 or 6 minutes later, there may be a slightly different answer than what you got the first time. Would you agree with that, Dr. Lee?
I think I would say yes and no. One of the main reasons why, well, I have seen similar cases before for my teaching too, but the AI is evolving.
Mm-hmm.
The answers or response they are giving is more accurate these days. And then, as they are evolving, they will also try to flag the misinformation and sometimes malicious use,
Mm-hmm.
like a deepfake, things like that. We still have the issue, and then that is a concern. But I think eventually AI will become very tool for us to rely on when it's possible. But like I said before, we really need to critically think about how we use this powerful tool in our decision making.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. Dr. Bracken, any advice on that too?
I think the fact checking component, at least in the phase that we're in right now with AI, and likely will be in for at least a little while, if not indefinitely, it is an evolving area of specialization and absolute need. Regardless of what AI you're using, and especially as I think and anticipate companies start to develop their own AI for their own internal cultures with their own data, the ability to have employees who can fact check that, whether they're giving advice to a particular leader or making decisions about policy, or using the example that Dr. Lee earlier used, in terms of health applications, I think is increasingly important. It is an incredibly powerful tool, but it's only as good as the information we're putting in, and the ability to know when AI is giving us either completely inaccurate information or slightly biased information or skewed information is really important, because it will impact people's decisions.
Mm-hmm. Ultimately, their decisions on an individual, and for those that are leading large organizations, it could impact a number of lives if they're using it, especially in strategic planning or trying to do predictive modeling. So, yeah, totally agree with that. So this leads me to my most fun questions. What are you reading and what are you watching? Since you might be grading papers, but if you're not grading papers, what are you doing to relax? And, what are you looking at? And what's your interest area? I'll start with you, Dr. Bracken.
So I do listen to a lot of different types of podcasts. I have to say I have a soft spot for true crime and cult podcasts. Probably not all that surprising given my demographics. What am I watching? I watch a lot of English mysteries. I think the last movie I saw in the cinema was Sinners, which I loved. As someone who studies media, I spend a lot of time with a lot of different media. I'm always listening to music. I go to a lot of live concerts. So I'm always consuming something, but that's how I unwind.
Awesome. Dr. Lee?
For during my free time, I mostly go and watch my son's soccer playing games. But the funny thing is, I watched a Korean movie that's relevant to that uprising that happened in South Korea a while ago in 1980s.
Mm-hmm.
So the AI on my Facebook actually recommended that I need to read the Han Gang's novel. I think the Korean title is the Boy is Coming, but I think the translated version is Human Act.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't read the book that often, but I am reading that Human Acts, which is centered around the 1980s uprising in South Korea for a pro-democratic student movement. That is somewhat interesting. But AI recommended to read it, so I'm going to try to read it.
It's funny how AI is even getting to know our interests, and then we'll focus in on, this will be good for you, and makes recommendations. But that's perfect. And if we're following it or not. So thank you for that. And I can't thank you enough for taking the time from your busy schedules. And, congratulations on this new venture. I think it's fantastic to hear that this opportunity to have AI really immersed with some of the other disciplines. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you to our listeners who are taking the time to get a hold of the show, share it, like it. We appreciate you, and we love to have your feedback at info@mazeassociatesltd.com. Also like to thank Jennifer Penzition, Edward Jones Financial Advisor, who is sponsoring the show. Thank you so very much for your support. And of course, until next time.
The PinLeader Podcast is hosted by Dr. Shanda Gore and brought to you by Maze & Associates Ltd, creating customized solutions for growth in the areas of leadership development, strategic planning, and culture building. Find out more at www.mazeassociatesltd.com. Don't forget to subscribe to the PinLeader Podcast and share with others.